Are there supposed to be silent ones? Hey ladies!
Hi ladies!
Welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. We are so excited. We actually brought tea this time.
You can see the steam wafting off these cups. It's real.
I've got some peppermint. I don't know what Neisje.
Throat coat.
Throat coat.
Because
you got to protect the vocal cords. Yep. So we're so excited to just have a conversation. Yeah. We really felt like this time around we really wanted to allow you guys to just sit in on a conversation that me and Neisje have. And so we were talking the other week, and for both of us, just the topic of rest, what does it mean to rest? What does rest look like? Was something that was just a common thread that we're both kind of navigating in the season of life. And so we wanted to bring that conversation to you guys. So grab your tea, grab a gal pal, and join in. Yeah.
We're so excited just to get to share this time with you guys. And one of the things that was fun as Christina and I were sitting down the other day, I know I was just asking you, like, what does rest even look like right now? And in the midst of schools being closed and kind of the season we've been in with COVID and beyond that, I've talked to so many of you about this season being a trying time for a lot of us. And sometimes when we come into stressful moments in our lives, I know for me, sometimes the first thing to go is like rest.
Yeah.
Do you relate to that too?
Totally. Because it's like you just feel kind of put under pressure. And so something has to give, and it's usually like, not that it's the easy thing to give up, but it's like the one thing you can give up to keep doing, which is so like the American dream that we buy into, or, you know, something that's praised in our world. I think we read The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I think it was in that book where he said like only in it's something about like ministry, like you do some sort of like sexual sin or like some sort of weird sin or whatever, and it's totally like, you know, looked down upon. But if you like don't honor the Sabbath, or you don't learn how to rest, and you learn how to work, and you like do 7 days a week, and you show up for this and you show up from that, like you'll actually get a promotion even within the church. How that overwork is like praised and honored, when really it should be something that is like makes you pull back and think like and reevaluate some things in your life. Just to walk with the Lord more steadily.
And that book, I know we've talked about it a little bit, that book has been like a huge, I think like a reset for even for our team. Ryan asked us to read it in the fall, which is crazy. We started reading it and then the fires hit. It was kind of like, okay, how do we apply this in the midst of actual crisis? And the book was really challenging. So ladies, shameless plug, like if you haven't read The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer, is an incredible book. It will challenge even just how you see Jesus and how he rested. After reading that book, every time I read scripture now, I notice so many moments that Jesus himself said pulled away to a quiet place to rest. There's even a verse where he said to the disciples, like, it said they'd been ministering and couldn't even stop to eat. And so Jesus was like, let's pull away so that we can rest and eat.
And a lot of his miracles came out of that place of like pulling back and resting.
Totally.
And so I think there's a lot of fruit that we miss out in our lives because we don't have margin or capacity, because we haven't rested. We don't have the capacity to show up in an unexpected moment where Jesus would maybe want to move, but we don't see it because we're just pushing through to the next thing and keeping to our schedule and you know, keeping the ball rolling.
Totally. And I feel like especially in seasons of stress for me, that's when I get tempted to throw like the regime out, and then maybe for some of you have a different personality where it's like, no, when stress comes, I actually become way more like structured and actually feel like I need to know every moment that's going to happen. So all of us respond differently, right?
Totally.
But I know that rest is like one of those deep pillars of even Jesus's ministry, who he was, the way he loved people. And so for me, I've been asking like, how do I actually bring this into my life in a way that isn't just like waiting for my next vacation? And I feel like, you know, like we've talked about this, maybe for some of us, we like store up time in our vacation. We're like, when I get to my vacation, that's when I'm going to rest. And then we all know vacations
suck.
Never go as planned. I mean, they can be amazing. Do not get me wrong. They can totally be amazing.
It's true.
But
they don't always suck. But
I feel like when we put so much expectation on these moments to get away, that's usually when we finally rest, is when stuff comes up.
Yeah.
Stuff in our family, stuff in our marriage, stuff in our hearts, and because we are not giving ourselves daily time to process, and then it just builds up, and then those vacation times, the family fight, the classic fight happens, or the classic whatever, or we get sick. That used to happen to me consistently years ago. Whenever I would finally rest, I would get sick because it was like my body, at that season, I wasn't stewarding my body super well. And so it would just be like, okay, you're done now, and we're going to actually like hardcore rest. And so we were even talking about how do we change our mindset to be a vacation American dream mindset to actually like a Jesus, what does it look like to know you as the person of rest and rest daily, and to also protect Sabbath. You know, we don't live by this legalistic law anymore of like protect the Sabbath, or else it's, you know, we're in the new covenant where there is just an invitation into the beautiful fruit of living a whole life. It's not a rule or regime, but it was like Jesus gave so many practical practices of how to live well. And I feel like rest is one of the ones he modeled so well. And so that's something we're asking even just today. I know we, even as we're here in this moment recording this, we were like, wow, we're tired. And I'm like, you just came off of work.
Tuesday.
Yes. And it's like we both have a lot going on, and how do we rest in the midst of that? So I'm curious, Christina, like what are some ways that you typically in life have found rest in the past or even now currently?
Well, it depends. I mean, I think we say a lot around here, and it's so true. Jesus is our rest. But I don't think it ends there. At least for me, like I know I have to put margins in my life on a daily basis, but then also to really honor the Sabbath. And so I get off work Friday afternoons, and I usually do Friday like afternoon evenings and Saturday, or Friday afternoons through Saturday evening or something like that, where I just take a 24-hour like chunk of time and I say, I'm not planning anything, like I'm not gonna put something in my schedule a week in advance. I'm gonna get to that moment and I'm gonna see what I need. And so sometimes it's like going on a hike or chasing a waterfall somewhere. Like I love doing that kind of stuff. Or staying at home in my PJs, doing some artwork or cooking. But it's cool, even this past week, one of my kids was like, it was Saturday, and we recently started Saturday morning breakfast.
Fun.
I'm not typically a breakfast person, but I'm like, okay, this is a rhythm that we can just do as a family that brings us together. And so we have a lot of fun with it. And so we finished breakfast, and he's like, what are we doing the rest of the day? He always needs to know. He's like, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? What's happening tonight? What's the plan? What about tomorrow? What time do you go to work? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you drive me crazy with all the questions. But
all the moms on here can relate.
You
say
get
amen.
It. And then, so we were finishing up breakfast, and he was like, what are we doing? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, that's right. We usually don't do much on Saturdays. He's like, okay. And even like him realizing that, but then also like able to prepare his heart a little bit for like, I'm just gonna learn to be open in this moment, which is hard for him to do.
But important, right?
But so
you're
important.
teaching him a value that might be different.
Yeah.
And even like with different kids, it's not a guarantee that your kids have the same personality as you, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely been different to navigate in the season with kids. Like what does my Sabbath look like? But I know we all know, like we will just take the day and kind of play it by ear. Like what are we gonna love to do together? What are we gonna enjoy? Let's be together, let's laugh, let's play games. Maybe let's go for a hike, but also like maybe we'll just whip something up in the kitchen and hang out and watch a movie. And
I love that.
And so it's just a day that we pull back and we're like, or maybe we will go, do something or go out with friends, but it's not something that I'm gonna plan. It's gonna be like, oh, this is gonna actually, like me going and having dinner with whoever is gonna bring life in this moment.
Yes.
And I'm an introvert, so that doesn't always happen. And so I have to like create that space to just say, what do I have capacity for? And not only what do I have capacity for, but what is gonna refresh me and give me life.
Yes. That's so good, Christina. Do you find that, or what is a key for you in valuing rest for yourself while having kids in your household, like being really a mom now? what it's so easy, I feel like, especially for our moms, like all the moms in community, right? The first thing to go is like your own time. So how do you personally position that in your heart or remind yourself, like, I need to do this so that I can actually love well?
Yeah.
Is there a key or something that you do even in your own process to value rest?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think Saturdays are huge, and just setting the stage for the rest of the week. Honestly, if you are a mom or you've been a mom, you get it. The toilet is great. I don't like just disappear to the bathroom for 10 minutes, and it's like sacred time these days. But
sacred chamber time on the pot.
But I'm blessed, like they're older, so I don't have any kids that are like attached to my hips all the time. Like I don't know how you moms get through that season of life besides just the grace of the Lord sustaining you. That would be so intense. And so but just I've been able to be honest and just be like, hey, I need a few minutes. I'm gonna run to my room for a little bit. Or me and John need to go have a conversation. And
teaching your kids that you have a need.
It teaches your kids that like you're not on call 24/7 for every one of their needs. I mean, obviously we take care of them, but
that's important too.
Yeah, and it teaches them that they can also say like, I need to tap out for a little bit.
I love that. I have some dear friends that have a 2.5-year-old, and whenever they've taught her that whenever she's getting really emotional or something's hard, she can just ask for a break.
Yeah.
And so she'll just say, I need a break. And so she'll go take a break. And so then both mom and dad often say, hey, I need a break for a minute. And they get to go take a 5-minute just reset.
Yeah.
And I love that. I'm so inspired by their family because they're teaching even their youngest kid, like, you can actually say, in this moment, I need to take a break, you know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
And it allows you to come back to whatever moment you're in fully present. And with like, I know for me, sometimes I'm like, okay, God, I need your perspective in this moment. Not always if I'm just tired and I need like some time, but if we're in the middle of a conversation where I'm like, I feel myself like reacting instead of responding, to pull back and be like, okay, God, I need your perspective. I need to like calm down emotionally and come at it more level-headed.
Yes.
And so I think, creating that and just saying like, this is necessary for me to live my life well.
Yeah. I love that. And what you even shared about how you rest, it reminds me of in the book that we're referencing by John Mark Comer, I think he defines his own personal view of rest is like anything that belongs on the Sabbath is like anything that is like refreshing my soul, my family's heart, our connection, and it's worship, it's play, and it's delight.
Yeah.
And I love those definitions because for me too, sometimes on my day off, I can just be like, okay, I have my list of to-dos that are like all the things I couldn't get to practically in the week that I need to now do. And just creating time to at least have one day where it's not just a bunch of tasks, but it is actually, what do I need today? And in this season, what do I need? And
I think it looks so different too.
Totally.
Like, some days I'm like, I need to get out and I need to move my body and like actually kind of work hard, but it is energizing.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm like, I'm done. Like, let's just
chill.
Do nothing.
Yes.
And so that's why it's so important for me to kind of just land on the day and be like, okay, let's reevaluate where am I and what do I need to do that. And so it can look differently. Like rest totally looks different.
Doesn't have to be the same rhythm every week. I know for me, rest often looks like exercise or like being in nature. I love nature. It refreshes my heart. I feel like if I get into God's creation, I suddenly get a new perspective of like how he sees me. I get recentered and I'm a part of his grand scheme of creation. And it heals things in me to be in nature. And then also to move my body, even to sweat. Like there's so many amazing chemicals that are released through working out, and I think that it's just incredible how your body knows it needs that. And so even just a little bit of working out or going on a hike, I feel I hear like the Lord so much better in those places too. And just enjoying him. Sometimes it's just like taking a walk through Lithia Park and like ogling over the beauty, and that is a reset for me. That is like deep rest. Sometimes it's like you said, really selecting the people you hang out with on your Sabbath day or Sabbath afternoon, whatever time you allot for yourself to refresh. For me, it's like really important that I like identify what's a drainer and what's a gainer, not in people, but like things, activities. Like what's an activity that will give back to me if I do it, and what's an activity that actually drains. Drains, and what actually do I gain something from? And then the same thing on like a weekend. I won't make plans on my day off unless I'm like, there's really life on this. And sometimes that's week to week. And women, just to be real, it's gonna have to go with your cycle too. Like, whether you're in menopause or in your cycle, like that may change even the way you need to rest in the week. And so there's some Saturdays that I'm like, I really need to be quiet, and I need to journal, and I need to connect with my own thoughts and the Lord. And there's other days that it's like, I need to be social and get out there. And something that came up, when you and I were talking, I know it's so different for us depending on the season of life. And for me as a single woman without kids, sometimes the days of rest can actually be the times that things come up, like we were talking about with vacations. But I find, because I don't have a family I'm caring for, those are often the days that pain comes up, or maybe loneliness comes up, and that's such a different experience. And so even for the ladies out there who maybe your loved one has passed on, or maybe you are in a single season, or even just with your family, there's a different season where you're at home with your kids and you're not able to see some of your friends in the same way. I just validate that. It's so real. And I think for me, a huge key that's been important for stewarding rest has been making sure that when I'm tired, I'm feeding myself with good things. Because when you're tired and then loneliness comes up, that is really where the enemy will offer you stuff that just that isn't good for your heart. Like, why don't you just binge Netflix? And I never feel rested after watching multiple episodes of something. Like maybe some people do, but I don't. I always feel kind of like more tired and a little bit like, unless it's like an inspiring, beautiful film that like fills me with hope, which is just rare these days. I feel like the Holy Spirit's really checked me on like, what am I ingesting? What books and movies am I letting in? Because whatever we behold, we become. We know that as a biblical truth. But for me, it's like in my rest time, I really need to make sure that whatever I'm feeding myself is really good, and then so that I have something to bring even to my week. And a lot of times for me, it's super simple. It's just spending time with God in something fun, or playing music, or writing, or journaling, being outside, and then just getting His voice and filling up on His affection and connection. Because then when I see myself or hear His voice in my life, it's like it feels so much, and then I feel like I have something to bring. And then sometimes that's the first half of the day, and then the second half of the day I can like go be social. And
totally.
I've gotten that time. And then there's some days that I need the whole day to do some tasks and then also get my deep rest in. So it's just different. But even for ladies out there that are single, like just know you're not alone in that. And for all of us, like sometimes we avoid rest because we don't want to feel or process.
You have to like look
just
inwardly.
Yes, because it forces us to cease and like process some of the things that are coming up in our hearts. And so especially during this kind of wild season we are in as a society, I know the Lord's just pulling me back to like, you have to have these times of processing deep stuff with me. And I know that that's such a culture that we have, with all of us, these ladies here. And so what does it look like for us to go deeper into rest, and also to face some of those places of both negative emotion, but also joy and hope, and get refreshed?
So we actually brought a few things that we represent what we love to do. Not all of what we love to do, but some of what we love to do to find rest. And so
go for it.
Should I share first?
Yes, show us.
Okay, I've got a few things. I got a pan, a skillet.
Oh, cast iron, yes.
I love to cook, and I love to like find new recipes and try new things. And so a lot of times I spend my Sabbath trying something new and spending a lot of time in the kitchen. I also brought, I don't know, this is in plastic, but it's not done. I do some hand lettered stuff.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Or some leather stuff. And so I just like to, if I can, sit down and draw or write or create, have some sort of creative outlet. So yeah.
I love that. I love that rest doesn't have to mean you're like ceasing and doing nothing. Right? It's like for a lot of us, it's actually like doing something
Yeah.
creative or
Yeah.
just giving our mind that rest. That's so beautiful. I love that.
What'd you bring, Neisje?
I brought my camera.
Oh man. Oh, I should have done that.
Because I love going on adventures like Christina, but also just taking photos of beauty and people and moments. And there's something for me that's very meditative about being behind a camera. I don't do photo for a living, which is also nice. It's just more of a hobby. And I feel very rested every time I get to take photos. And I feel like I see from a different perspective. Haha. No pun intended.
Kind of intended.
Yeah, and then I love reading or being inspired by beautiful writing or imagery. And so one thing that I love is Cultivate. It's actually a collection of writings and creativity and poetry, recipes, all kinds of things that Jonathan and Melissa Helser and their Cageless Birds community put out. And I think they have 6 volumes now, but these are just like it's just really beautifully done. They're all artists, and so the way that they lay these out feels like rest when I read them. So I love reading someone else's story, and then there's often prompts that go with them, and they're just doing those prompts for me that feels like it enriches the soil of my heart. And then I also brought a leather book because I also like working with leather. And sometimes for me, the most restful thing is just journaling, which can just be, we talked about this, a couple weeks ago with Kim and me too,
Kim,
but journaling or drawing. And I know for me, like watercolor, here's one. I didn't even finish it, but I just did a little watercolor of like a house. And then I just journal in God's voice. And to me, that visual where I'm activating my right brain, but then my left brain is also being activated in like the writing and language, it feels holistic. Like it feels like all the parts of me are showing up and they all get to speak and rest and be seen by Jesus. So those are some ways I rest.
Fun.
Yes.
So good. Thanks, Neisje.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. So we just wanted to leave you girls with some questions about rest.
Yeah.
Good week.
I think just having this conversation, and rest is something that we actively pursue on a regular basis, but it's something that we've learned to fight for. Yeah. And so we just wanted to have you ladies take some time, and if rest is like a regular rhythm that you have in your life, then that's amazing. And we were kind of just take some time this week to pull back and say, like, is the way I'm resting actually producing more life in me? Am I coming back actually rested?
Yes.
Or what can you do to be a little more intentional when you rest? And then if this is kind of like a new or foreign thing for you, which is totally fine. Like we've been on that journey too. Like that was me as well.
And it changes every season.
Totally.
You might have to redefine what rest looks like. So maybe even asking yourself, do you need to rediscover what rest looks like for this season? Because maybe the physical things have changed so that the way you used to rest isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
And just having permission to rediscover that.
Yeah. And so maybe there's something that you can ask the Lord to highlight, to do even just in this week, to pursue rest in a greater way.
Yeah. So we're just believing, ladies, that we're hoping that this conversation brings some life, can spark some joy for discovery, even of new ways to rest. And ultimately the rest that you guys find is just nourishing for your hearts, for our whole community's heart. And we would love to hear how you're resting in the comments below. And if you're struggling or want prayer for this or to talk, we would love to talk with you more about it. And please give us your ideas, because a lot of you have this down where this is something that is in your life and you've had to change it multiple times. So we would love to hear your wisdom too, and the ways that you've found to rest with your family. So leave us a comment below and we'd love to chat with you guys.